Hey everyone, it's Wednesday, time for Wisdom Wednesday. Thought I'd try something a little new this week, and it's often nice to have some things that you can look at to explain some of the things, especially some of the more intricate things that we talk about. So I thought I'd try using some slides and see if we might be able to communicate a little bit better. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well, and the thing that I wanted to talk about, which really kind of is a challenging area, which we've touched on quite a bit through the last year and a half or so, and that the gut, as has been attributed to Hippocrates, is, all disease basically begins in the gut. And I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about that and ways that we might want to look at that so that we can do things specifically to help the gut, and also just learn a little bit about what it is and how it plays such an important and vital role in our overall health. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the microbiome. So the microbiome is the bacteria, the fungi, and the viruses, and all the things that live in our gut. And we are 10 times more bacteria and other organisms than we are our own personal cells. And that's one of the things that's just kind of crazy to look at it. And from the mouth all the way down to the colon and then further out, that whole part of our body is actually external to the interior and other organs of our body, just like the inside of a pipe or a donut, however you want to look at it, it's actually external to us. And as you can see here, that we have organisms in our stomach, organisms in the small bowel, that consisting of the duodenum and the jejunum and ileum, and then certainly quite a bit in the colon as well. And it's very interesting to understand too, how does this get set up? Well, we know that babies coming through the birth canal are exposed to mom's bacteria, and that sets up the original sort of microbiome in an infant. And for babies born by C-section, we know that they are limited in getting that diversity of bacteria coming through, particularly the lactobacillus coming through the birth canal. And there are even ways that folks are looking at swabbing mom's vagina and then inoculating babies through just the oral route, because otherwise C-section babies get their microbiome just from skin bacteria initially. So that can set up some children who are genetically at risk for having more problems, because having a microbiome that is not particularly well situated for individual genetics may be a problem as far as just overall health is concerned. And as you can see here on the right over here, these are the things that really set up the microbiome overall. Again, mode of delivery, which we kind of talked about, and then huge part is our diet, what's happening as far as gut secretions. And that's why one of the reasons too that long-term anti-acid type medications can be problematic. Also, we know that the microbiome is really important for setting up this symbiotic relationship with how the organisms are helping with digestion and helping with setting up the film that occurs in the gut. Because one of the biggest things that the gut has to decide for us, and these organisms do as well, is whatever coming in, a friend or foe. And so it's a very important role that takes place, and we have not only these organisms that help, but we have our immunoglobulins that line the gut, the secretions of the gut called IgA, and that's a really important. Also, how mobile is the gut? Are we getting things moving through the gut? And how, what is our age and stage as far as gut health is concerned? Were you exposed to a lot of antibiotics growing up? One of the things that I do with patients is talk a lot about health as children. And were you exposed? Did you have a lot of ear infections? Did you have a lot of other types of issues that required a lot of antibiotics growing up? Because that really does affect the gut microbiome and health down the line. And we know that not only does it affect gut health with just gut problems, but it affects all types of diseases, mental illness. It affects just our mental alertness and our ability to have good cognition. It affects long term. When you look at chronic disease, we know that things like diabetes, heart disease, and Alzheimer's, and all of these types of long-term autoimmune disorders really have their beginning in our gut. We know that stress plays a role. Exercise has a positive benefit on our gut microbiome and, of course, our genetics and where we live. And as you know, we don't really eat according to our season and where we live because we can get food anywhere, anytime, and therefore have the ability to have issues with our gut microbiome by not eating seasonally. The other thing that's really important as far as our gut microbiome is just how we choose to eat long term. Are we eating foods that feed these healthy bacteria, or are we eating foods that really are problematic? Are we eating too much sugar? Are we eating too much protein perhaps? Are we taking medications that have impact on the gut microbiome and therefore have all these things that are downstream effects that lead to disease? So one of the things that I think can be really important is just choosing something. Baby steps are just part of it. We tend to eat so much. 75% of our diet is grain in terms of wheat, corn, soy, and those are real problematic sources of food particles that come in that can affect our gut and our overall microbiome, which then affects the gut itself and can lead to what we call leaky gut. And leaky gut has all of these problems, as you can see, can affect the brain in terms of mental cognition and mental health and just how we are wired from a mood standpoint. It affects our skin. It can increase our risk for viral infections. It can increase our risk for autoimmune disorders, not only with the thyroid, but with joints. Obviously, we can have gut issues, and then it can affect the stress gland, our adrenals. And so leaky gut is something that we'll kind of talk about as we move forward. But knowing that the microbiome is important, and there are things about feeding the microbiome. Do we take prebiotics? Do we take probiotics? And then there are things called postbiotics, which are also helpful. And I think the most important thing is getting to the point where we start to understand the importance of fiber, which can be a very powerful prebiotic. So as you look at your nutrition this next week or so, as we start to down this trail of understanding gut health and optimizing our gut health, because if we optimize our gut health, we will optimize our general health. But look at fiber and think about what you are ingesting in terms of, is this fiber rich? And I don't mean in terms of like whole grain type fiber. I'm talking vegetable fiber, something that's non-processed at all. So I would encourage you to increase your vegetable fiber this week. And if you don't do a lot, one of the things that I do with any of the things that I swallow, such as my supplements or any medications, you might just put a little fiber supplement in that water and let that be part of your just daily routine in terms of helping feed those gut bacteria, getting good healthy fiber in. So this is a great introduction, I think, to just understanding this powerful organ that we have that is actually out of our body, the amount of bacteria and the important role it plays, a synergistic role it plays in our overall health. This is a huge area of research now and something that as I was growing up, we didn't even think about, and now we realize the overwhelming importance of the gut microbiome. You guys have a great week, and we'll talk again soon. Hopefully, this will be something that's helpful in terms of education and trying to do this with some visuals. So we'll see how it goes. You all have a great week.